This is my most ambitious investigation yet. A journey along the coast of Peru, not in search of a single lost city, but for the ghost of an entire civilization. The textbooks tell one version of the story, but the stones and dates demand another. The clues are hiding in plain sight. Repeating fingerprints, sunken circular plazas, U-shaped architecture, celestial alignments.
Y aquí es un calendar.
La Plaza de Huancas, circular.
This was a conversation in stone, seeming to take place worlds apart, and my journey was to listen in on this ancient dialogue and trace it to its source. Maps led me to stand in temples that history forgot. I was gifted secrets by unexpected guides, and where the map ended,
This is it.
I would find an undocumented temple that may hold the key to the true vastness of Peru's first culture. I matched boots on the ground with published evidence, site plans to radiocarbon, to push past speculation and come with receipts. The true cradle of civilization in Peru was much more vast and interconnected than we ever could have imagined. And the deeper I went, the older the timeline became, until I stood in the place that may have started it all at the end of the last ice age. This is a story that rewrites the first civilization of the Americas. Welcome to Pillars of the Past. Our journey begins on a desolate stretch of the Peruvian coast. Here, poised against the Pacific, is a monument frozen in time.
This is the site of Las Aldas. It is an unfinished temple, and it dates back to being one of the earliest, stone structures.
Archaeologists believe this unfinished temple dates back over 5,000 years and that it was abandoned mid-construction. Although it is attributed to the Sechín culture, its most telling feature is unmistakable. A sunken circular plaza, the architectural signature of the Norte Chico culture. This was a massive temple complex, and it was precisely aligned facing northeast, which was a well-known practice of these ancient cultures, allowing their structures to align with the sunrise on the June solstice. But the work here was never completed. The evidence suggests that for some unknown reason, likely a catastrophic tsunami or a massive El Niño event, the site was suddenly and completely abandoned, leaving it frozen in a state of incompletion for millennia. But the story of Las Aldas didn't end there. Centuries after it was abandoned, new cultures returned to this desolate shore.
People started building little towns, little settlements on top.
It's a pattern seen throughout Andean history. Cultures reoccupying or repurposing the sites of their ancestors. What's fascinating here is that the builders didn't start on flat ground. They shaped the mountain's own bedrock, merging their temple with the landscape itself.
See, it looks like little steps there.
This practice of sculpting the earth is a tradition with incredibly deep roots on this coast. A story that begins, as we will see later, nearly 12,500 years ago at the end of the last ice age. The sunken circular plaza here at Las Aldas is our first crucial clue to investigating the true extent of Peru's cradle of civilization. It is a well-known feature that bears the fingerprint of the Norte Chico, currently the oldest known advanced civilization in the Americas.
It's almost like they repurposed the mountain.
The Norte Chico inhabited 4 river valleys almost 200 kilometers to the south. This was a dawn of civilization in the Americas. A time ruled by peace with no indications of warfare, sustained by a sophisticated network of trade. Deep in the Supe River Valley, the ancient peoples of Caral were cultivating cotton. And on the coast at sites like Aspero, that cotton was transformed into the fishing nets that harvested the Pacific's immense bounty. In return, the bounty of marine life was traded back inland, fueling the growth of these first cities. Throughout these valleys, over 1,000 years before the current dating of the Great Pyramids at Giza, the Norte Chico were erecting dozens of pyramids and dozens of ceremonial plazas, many of which we will see in this film. And the majority of those constructions shared a fascinating hallmark: the sunken circular plaza, a feature we see replicated back at the site where our journey begins. The story of Las Aldas extends far beyond the shoreline. Similar to the Norte Chico sites down south that were actively engaged in a community of successful trade, Las Aldas was trading the same marine life with a separate culture just 20 kilometers north, the Casma Sechín culture. But were they really that separate? To understand a legacy spanning thousands of years, we now leave the coast and follow along ancient trade routes into the heart of the Casma Valley, where we will explore a massive urban center that redefined what archaeologists thought we knew about this ancient culture. Prior to the last decade, most of the archaeological sites in the Casma Valley, sites like El Castillo, Cerro Sechín, Chanquillo, Sechín Bajo, and Sechín Alto, were all attributed to the Sechín culture, and most were thought to have been dated to around 1800 BCE. But all of that is changing, and it's changing in a major way, as we shall soon see. First though, as I was using Google Earth to survey the area, I saw this massive site that I had never been to before, and it was expansive. Research at this site revealed an incredibly advanced society with sophisticated socio-political economics flourishing nearly 4,000 years ago. This is Pampa de las Llamas-Moxeke.
This is all clearly stone construction.
The buildings here are constructed of stones set in mud mortar, and this monumental structure, known as Huaca A, is thought to have been a great administrative center and storage complex. In the original archaeological survey of the site, we can see a distinct sunken circular plaza which archaeologists confirmed was once part of this complex. However, it seems to have been the victim of time and erosion, as it's virtually impossible to make out with the drone.
We're just going to get it up to the top of the main complex here. It's all stone. We're in the Casma Valley right now.
The conclusion that this was an administrative center was based on the agricultural resources found within these scores of small geometric rooms.
This stone. How does this stone have a straight up hole in it? That's super strange.
To archaeologists, it pointed to a society of deliberate urban planning, aimed at reinforcing social hierarchies and controlling the flow of goods and ritual activities. Evidence does suggest an interconnected system of trade linking this inland capital with coastal outposts like Las Aldas. But the profound discovery at Pampa de las Llamas was not in what was found, but in what it represents. For decades, it was believed that the influential Chavin culture was the source of complex urban planning and socioeconomic systems in the Andes.
An altar.
But the evidence here shattered that theory. The dating of this site proves that a complex hierarchical society was thriving in the Casma Valley over 1,000 years before the rise of Chavin. And this was a major reorientation for the entire timeline of Andean civilization. The most secure radiocarbon dates from this site place the majority of construction around 1700 to 1800 BCE. But of course, as with most sites, there are outlier dates. And at this particular location, those are around 3400 BCE. Is it possible that the structures sitting here on the surface were repurposed or built upon older construction that may make that 3400 BCE date look a little less outlandish? While that may not be the case for this particular site, it was the case for a site just 10 kilometers away on the opposite side of the valley. While using Google Earth, I saw this site here, and it seemed to be a colony of pyramids. And in fact, it was labeled with nothing more than pre-Columbian pyramid. And I just had to investigate. Along the way, the main road through the valley took me here, to the site of Sechín Alto. So I stopped to get some drone footage and to see if I could identify a clear path in order to get to the site I had surveyed. From the drone, you can see just how much still remains to be excavated. And I wouldn't find this out until making this very film, but what is currently being captured with the drone is actually only what's left of the Sechín Alto complex. We can see the structures just filmed with the drone on Google Earth here. But this is the original site layout, surveyed by archaeologists decades ago, removing everything but the Sechín Alto complex itself and superimposing this onto what currently exists today. Well, I had no idea how large this site used to be and how much has unfortunately been lost. But let us, for the time being, not stray too far from the purpose of this film and continue our search for the evidence that may connect the ancient cultures here on the coast of Peru. And using the original survey, we can actually see the faint depressions of where there used to be two sunken circular plazas here at this complex. I kept trying to make my way to the pyramid complex, but was running into a variety of construction along the riverbed, which wasn't providing a way through.
Alright, well, there was supposed to be a path through, but I can't find it. But there's supposedly some pyramids right there, some pre-Columbian pyramids. So I am going to get the drone up in the air and see if I can A, see the pyramids, B, see if there's a path through.
You can see how vast this particular complex is, and it's just one of a number of many sites in this valley, which has some estimates putting the population size at around 23,000 people. The drone helped me find a navigable path through the valley to make it to the site.
This is pretty epic here. Found a whole complex of pyramids.
You can see two of the pyramid structures here in the background. I was making my way to what seemed to be the largest pyramidal structure in the complex, nestled between these two other ones.
I want to go up top to this one right here.
So far, the data suggests that ceramics in these valleys toward the coast began around 1800 BCE, which coincides with the dates attributed to much of the architecture in the valley.
The pottery shards.
But within the past decade, archaeologists have found and excavated monumental architecture attributed to much earlier cultures. These structures were found buried underneath some of the ancient ruins that we can see today.
There's bones.
And so a much clearer picture is being formed, indicating that the ceramic producing cultures of the Sechín Valley were building on top of structures inherited from their predecessors.
Looks like people dug right into the top of it. It's a pretty big pit.
You could see more pyramidal structures in the distance here overlooking the valley, including that Sechín Alto site that we saw earlier. Flying the drone, I was able to see a Ministry of Culture designation at the site.
Site of Talcachiconcan. You can see in the distance there's more pyramids there.
This was a majestic, massive site, and I could only imagine what it must have looked like thousands of years ago when it was inhabited. And it's here, through the drone footage, that we catch a glimpse of that ancient architectural fingerprint, the sunken circular plaza. But perhaps it's even more than a fingerprint, because when comparing this portion of the site to the layout of Las Aldas, for example, well, the similarities are telling. There's another sunken plaza here, and on the complete opposite end of this site is yet another sunken circular plaza. And all of these are able to be confirmed through the original site surveys completed by archaeologists decades ago. Some of the oldest sites here in the Casma Valley were dated to around 1800 BCE, but that all changed in 2008 when a groundbreaking discovery was made underneath the archaeological site of Sechín Bajo. Archaeologists uncovered a sunken circular plaza built of stone and adobe, and radiocarbon dates have put this construction circa 3500 to 3000 BCE. Arguably making it one of the oldest monumental structures in the Americas. As further excavations were carried out, though, another history-changing discovery was made. Archaeologists discovered a monumental frieze on an even lower layer. They even found impressions of handprints on the adobe bricks and the plaster on some of the walls in these courts. And the accepted dating is between 3600 and 3400 BCE. This discovery is a bombshell that rewrites the history of the Americas, and it proves that the Casma Valley was a foundational power in its own right. But the most intriguing piece is the sunken circular plaza, the very same architectural signature that can be found nearly 200 kilometers away. at the sacred city of Caral. Often called the oldest civilization in the Americas, several of the temple structures at this sacred city contain that sunken circular plaza. This shared blueprint raises an ultimate question. To investigate, we now head into the Supe Valley for an exclusive look at one of these temples. Just a few kilometers away from the sacred city of Caral itself, we will witness the architectural marvel of the Norte Chico culture and the secrets it's continuing to reveal. There are approximately 18 archaeological sites belonging to the Norte Chico culture in the Supe River Valley. Our investigation takes us slightly to the west of the sacred city of Caral.
Well, right now I am at some of the oldest pyramids in the world.
This is Era de Pando.
These predate the pyramids of Egypt.
Era de Pando spans for almost 60 hectares, and it consists of large and small pyramids and at least 40 other buildings, thought to be homes and administrative centers. I was afforded the opportunity to explore the main pyramid structure at the complex. And here we can see the hallmark of the Norte Chico, the sunken circular plaza. The Norte Chico culture sprawled over approximately 4 valleys in this northern region of Peru: the Supe Valley, the Paravilca Valley, the Fortaleza Valley, and the Huaca Valley.
Wow, they went deep. Holy hell. They went basically to ground layer, it looks like.
The archaeologist who allowed me access said that this is still an active archaeological zone, and it is being seasonally excavated.
This is amazing stonework though. Because this was a pre-ceramic culture, and as far as they know, no artwork or anything like that. Another pyramid there, a couple more pyramids.
Although initial construction layers at the site parallel the construction at the sacred city of Caral around 3000 BCE, archaeologists have found evidence that there was a major escalation in the construction here at this site around 2200 BCE.
Excavations happening over there.
And what that has suggested to researchers is that there may have been a shift in the centralized locations of importance for the Norte Chico people.
You can't even see the main site of Caral though.
This complex entered the mainstream news in 2025 when archaeologists announced that a fire altar was discovered at the site. It was found along the west side of the pyramid structure, and you can see it here in the drone footage. The offerings that were incinerated in these altars included a variety of items, things like beads, quartz fragments, fish, mollusks, and agricultural products. From the pyramid itself, access to the altar was through several chambers, which suggested to archaeologists that this complex society may have had a hierarchical structure, insomuch as there may have been a priest-like class responsible for conducting these rituals. The lack of ordinary items found in and around the temple itself has also suggested that access was possibly restricted to this more elite or religious class of individuals. This notion of a hierarchical priest-like class is very reminiscent of what was being said by archaeologists at the site of Pampa de las Llamas. Only this here was at a minimum 500 years older. With the new discovery of the fire altar also came the discovery of underground ventilation ducts, which point to an advanced practical understanding of airflow and combustion dynamics, which demonstrates an incredible engineering and technological prowess of this ancient culture. As excavations at Era de Pando continue, so does our understanding of this first great civilization. While Caral is the most famous city and often quoted to be the oldest, this is a common misnomer. The earliest construction dates attributed to the Norte Chico culture are actually found here, slightly to the north, in the Fortaleza Valley. But there is more to this valley than older dates. Hidden in the landscape is a site that contains a discovery found nowhere else in the Norte Chico world. A feature that may point to the very first monolithic celestial observations in the Americas. Using Google Earth, I saw these mounds tucked away and isolated in a little alcove in the Fortaleza Valley. There were no place markers or labels, but some of them seemed to have an outline of a sunken circular plaza. And from my experience, these had to be ancient structures. So I was going to see if I could check them out.
From what I saw, there's should be some ruins like back that way, and I don't really know how to get there. So I'm just gonna I saw a little path going through these fields here. So I'm gonna try to see if I can make it that way. So what I saw from Google Earth, the reason I think that there's probably something buried under these mounds is because they are very isolated. They're all facing northeast, and when you have these ancient temples, that's perfect for the sunrise on the solstices. Oh, that's cool. All right, let's see if we can make it through. I gotta remember where I came from though. Actually, let me set up a stick so I remember. There you go. Point of entry. Buenas. ¿Cómo estás? Estoy aquí, miro algo con el satélite. ¿Qué es aquí?
Caballete.
Caballete. Ah, es un sitio arqueológico. Ah, sí. ¿Puedo caminar aquí?
Sí, de frente.
Muy bien.
Este es el complejo arqueológico de Caballete.
Caballete.
Va a darse una vuelta completa. Vamos, le acompaño.
Sí, ya, muy bien.
Listo, vamos.
Gracias. ¿Tú nació aquí?
Vivo, ahí en mi casa.
Qué bueno. Me llamo Raúl.
Ok. Luis,
Luis, mucho gusto.
es bien temprano. Vamos.
Bien temprano. Es temprano. Sí, porque Caral y todo lo en el Supe está aquí.
Contemporáneo.
Contemporáneo con esos en el Supe. Yeah.
Luis, who became my amazing impromptu guide, lived adjacent to this site, and he generously offered to walk me through it. He said this was a very early site, contemporaneous with the construction at Caral. But, as we'll see, there is evidence that suggests even earlier dates.
Ay, qué magnífico. So, I was right. This actually, though, is an archaeological site. There was no label on Google Earth. I just, because of their alignment, I knew they had to be something, and we've encountered this gentleman, Luis, here, who lives here, and has offered to walk me around the site, which is just amazing. So, that's what's happening. Muchas gracias para tu tiempo.
Para bajar un poco la tensión.
Ay, gracias.
Levanto el plástico y había una culebra así grandazo.
Sí, hoy.
Justo.
Hear that? He was working and lifted up a piece of plastic and a huge snake was underneath. So he's happy to have this little reprieve from work.
Todo esto de aquí son montículos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 montículos que son parte del complejo. Pero el de aquí es el más antiguo.
El más antiguo.
Sí.
¿Y tiene plazas o solo son?
Vamos a ver.
Yeah, vamos.
Una de las características de este sitio de que este es el único lugar que tiene la plaza circular con huanca.
Con huancas.
Sí, piedra.
Ah, ya. En el norte los plazas están más abajo de la estructura y en el sur los plazas son como un U.
Esto también tiene la forma de U.
Ah, ya.
Como puedes ver, esto de aquí es el montículo principal de un periodo posterior a esto. Este es más temprano.
Más temprano.
Sí. Y aquí se ve una especie de plataforma pequeña.
Ah, puedo ver.
Sí, y aquí está la plaza circular.
Oh, wow.
O sea, está tapada.
Ah, yeah, sí, puedo mirar. But you can see here, this is the Sunken Circular Plaza.
Este es el más antiguo. Este está jugando solo.
Solo. Y después estos.
Después el de aquí.
Ah, ya.
Este de aquí es el principal.
There were many phases of construction at this site, and it's here in this valley that archaeologists found dates that suggest even earlier occupation than the city of Caral.
¿Y los arqueológicos no hizo nada aquí?
Esto es un sitio bien temprano, pero
No hay cerámicos, no hay nada.
no hay cerámica, no hay nada. Pero ¿qué pasa? No tiene mucha arquitectura museable.
Ah, ya.
Puedes mostrar. En cambio, ¿ha ido a Caral?
Sí.
Caral es
Sí,
grandioso.
tienen.
Acá tenemos 1, 2, 3. Así que la gente quiere mirar
Sí.
Entonces, es preferible lo que arqueólogos han dicho, que esto sea como un banco de datos.
Para datos.
Para estudios. Nada más. Ya tenemos Caral, ¿para qué limpiarlo esto? Solamente preservarlo.
Entiende.
Cuando vengan en el futuro, de repente pueden hacerlo mucho mejor, ¿no?
Y aquí es un calendar.
La plaza de huancas circular
Sí.
es una plaza de huancas circular, la única que hay en el Norte Chico.
That's amazing. So this is the only stone calendar circle in the Norte Chico culture in the Supe area. This is it. This is it.
Debajo está la plaza circular.
Yeah.
Al fondo puedes ver la piedra del elefante.
Yeah.
Después vamos a ver arriba.
Yeah. The elephant stone, and it looks like an elephant.
Otra cosa,
Sí.
mira, tú puedes ver el montículo que se encuentra allá. ¿Ves
Sí.
el montículo? La principal, el otro montículo pequeño.
Soy un...
Otro allá, otro y otro allá. Está fumando así, mira. Así, en U. Uno acá,
Ah, yeah,
otro acá, otro acá.
okay.
Es una plaza circular. Y en el medio se encuentra la piedra del elefante. Después lo vamos a ver.
Yeah, muy bien.
From the drone, we can see the sunken circular plaza feature of this pyramid, hidden under the monoliths. The elephant stone is here, and we should make note of the U shape that the structures form, because it becomes another clue in our investigation here.
So we're climbing one of the structures now.
Por acá todavía se conserva su construcción.
You can see the construction here. Wow. Qué magnífico, ¿no?
Probablemente sean las viviendas de los que están ocupando este sitio.
Está viviendo aquí.
De élite. De allá. Y el pueblo por los alrededores.
So he was saying that we're at the top of the central pyramid right now. And he's saying that the elites used to live here and here. You can see the potch marks in the ground where there hasn't been any excavation done. The native people, not the elites, would live in the surrounding pueblos. So here's the elephant stone. So that's the elephant stone. It's in the middle of these temples here.
Vamos a la piedra del elefante.
Yeah.
Y nos vamos a ver a una plaza circular como Caral.
Ah, perfecto.
You can see the ring of monoliths atop the sunken circular plaza here.
It's just amazing. Y aquí son otras piedras, pero no están aquí ahora. ¿Y qué es eso? ¿Esos huecos aquí?
Eso ya posterior, el huaqueo. Esos son huaqueos.
Huaqueo, yeah. So these holes here were made from looting, but there used to be a stone here. Wherever there's an indentation, there used to be stones. See?
Luis said that at first it was thought that this stone might be a meteorite, but it was later concluded to be volcanic.
Look here's the elephant stone. It does look like an elephant.
The side of the stone facing the sunken plaza was incredibly smooth, but the top and rear sections had indications of hammered stone marks.
Los indentaciones.
Tiene una serie de huequitos, como puedes ver ahí, que está distribuida en toda la piedra. ¿Qué significado tendrá? No hay muchos estudios sobre eso, así que ahí está y no se quedó. La gente cuando viene a ver al complejo Caballete, quiere encontrar algo grandioso.
Sí, sí, sí.
Y esto no es. En caso, tienes que mirarlo con ojos de arqueólogo.
Sí, sí,
para
sí.
más o menos tratar de entenderlo.
This is another temple with a sunken circular plaza. Here's the plaza.
Más arriba había otras ocupaciones, pero ya son posteriores.
Sí, después.
Son con cerámica, metales, en la parte alta también.
Sí.
He was saying that higher up and into the surrounding mountains, later occupation periods were found, and that was evidenced by ceramics and metallurgy.
Hubo un amigo que era secretario, creo, del Museo Phil, Matteo Piccitelli, trajo un georradar.
¿Qué es georradar?
Ya. Para detectar, ahí, toda esa parte aquí.
Ah, eso es.
Construcciones debajo.
Ya.
Archaeologists used ground-penetrating radar and identified numerous stone structures and human-made formations buried under this entire area.
¿Aquí es el plaza?
No, aquí no hay plaza.
No hay plaza, no.
Acá hicimos una excavación de 2,20 metros y abajo encontramos una banqueta.
¿Qué es banqueta?
Para sentarse.
Oh, wow.
De tierra, abajo.
Abajo, ¿y qué pasó?
A 2 metros.
Ah, pero ¿es ahí ahora?
Sí.
Wow.
Entonces, lo toma foto, papá, de nuevo tapa.
This stone bench here was one of many objects and structures that were found over 2 meters below the surface.
And they took pictures of it, but afterwards they covered it back up. I'm not going to start digging to go find it, but that's pretty neat.
Acá había unos perfiles muy buenos y como se estaba deteriorando, le han protegido. No sé si ya destruyeron.
Okay, so...
En esta parte de aquí ha ocurrido un huaqueo y se puede ver claramente la fase constructiva de todo el sitio.
Luis was saying that this was initially a looting pit, but it helped archaeologists to see the different phases of construction as they excavated. And that is actually in the report on Caballete itself.
Ahí puedes ver la chica, una casa abajo que está tapada, que está enlucida, que en un momento estaba pintada de blanco, pero ya se cayó la pintura.
It used to be painted white, he said. Qué magnífico, ¿no?
Cuando escuché, a la hora que estabas viniendo hablando,
sí,
yo dije, estas horas 15 hay. Seguro los ladrones. Me estaba preparando ya.
Qué malo que eso pasó con las personas aquí, ¿no?
Es que no hay para comer. En la chacra tienes de todo, pero en el pueblo, en la ciudad, no hay. Entonces ya vienen para acá.
So he was saying that when I came and encountered him, he got scared because he heard a sound and he thought the people were coming to like rob his crops, because they do that because they don't have much to eat in the little local pueblo. All right, so we're gonna go see one last place. ¿Qué vas a mirar ahora?
La piedra.
La piedra, yeah. So he's taking me to a stone that I guess cultures revered it or used it, or maybe wrote on it. They were after the pre-ceramic Norte Chico culture.
Se puede ver las plataformas
okay.
aterrazadas que hay en toda esta área, pero como está producto de las lluvias, se va a estar desmoronado, pero si le excavas puedes encontrar ahí. Pero no hay necesidad para estos sitios, porque de estos sitios ya tenemos una bibliografía bien amplia. Así que no hay problema. Solamente una referencia nada más.
He was indicating that the general idea is that although there are identified structures buried, that enough information has already been gathered and assessed from the site.
No way. Mira eso. No way.
Entonces probablemente esté asociado de que esto sea un sitio ya posterior a Caballete.
So they're saying that these were after the Norte Chico culture. No way.
Estructuras, entonces hay aquí.
Definitely part of the structure.
Caballete held many secrets, and thanks to the serendipitous generosity from Luis, we were able to see and understand them. But the site held additional clues for our investigation into the true extent of this cradle of civilization, because this wasn't the first time we've come across that U-shaped formation. In fact, it was there at the very first site we visited, at Las Aldas. And published research has identified this U-shaped formation at the other sites we visited in the Casma Valley, here at Sechín Alto, at Sechín Bajo, and at Calcachi-Concan. But in the valleys occupied by the Norte Chico culture, is Caballete an anomaly? To answer that, we travel to a nearby site that proves this architectural configuration was indeed intentional, and it might be older than anything we have visited thus far. Using Google Earth, I saw these structures just a few kilometers away from the site of Caballete. There wasn't anything on the map that indicated it was an archaeological site, but in my experience, it almost definitively had to be ancient architecture, specifically because of these here, the hallmark of the Norte Chico culture.
I didn't want to bring the car through here in case it got stuck. I have no way of getting out because it looks incredibly muddy. It is muddy. So we are hiking it. I believe this is some possible pyramid structures, and we'll see.
Until conducting further research after the expedition, I was under the incorrect assumption that this site may have only been surveyed. But excavations conducted here decades ago revealed some remarkable findings. Most notably, radiocarbon dates showed a construction period that began here as early as 3750 BCE. As I got closer, I saw the iconic blue sign of the Ministry of Culture.
So this is a known location,
indicating this as an archaeological site. And this here was the ancient site of Cerro Porvenir.
These are probably structures with, I want to say, probably sunken mounds.
I was incredibly sleep deprived in the field and meant to say sunken plazas. In the distance here, you can begin to see the pyramids rising from the site.
Let's say that is likely a platform mound right there. Indeed it is. Look at that. Look at that. It's another temple. It's another temple. Look at that. Other structure, other temples. Another one with a sunken circular mound there.
Here, we can see that architectural staple of Norte Chico construction. We can also see here at this particular structure a central pyramid formation, flanked by two additional structures, like wings. You can see the faint outline of a sunken circular plaza at this temple here, which at first it seems like it might have been an error in construction. It's off-center. But what that actually reveals is an important part of the history at this site, because this structure also had adjacent wings. Research indicates that at some point a major flash flood devastated this site, not only completely stripping away one of its wings, but completely eradicating a structure that would have been found here, toward the base of the incline. And on Google Earth, you can see what may be left of a sunken circular plaza where a structure used to be. And prior to whatever event traumatized this site, the structure here would have formed that U-shaped formation we have now become familiar with. Each of these stones was at one point placed to create uniform walls, steps, and rooms, and so seeing them as they are now is a testament to the level of destruction that this site once suffered.
There's the sunken circular plaza there. You can see the indentation. I'm on top of the pyramid right now.
Across the four valleys once ruled by the Norte Chico, dozens of ancient sites echo a shared vision. But the most profound clues we've uncovered hint at a much broader story. The shared architectural styles and the overlapping occupation dates all point to a possible vast interconnected culture, which challenges the notion that these civilizations evolved worlds apart. What has been missing, though, is a true physical bridge, a missing piece that would definitively link these cultures together. The search for that connection is what took me into the desolate valleys in between these two civilizations, and it is here, hidden from history, where I found an undocumented temple that might hold the key. I saw this unlabeled structure deep in one of the valleys between the Supe and Casma regions of Peru. The first clue indicating to me that it was likely the remnants of ancient architecture was this part here. This had to be a sunken circular plaza. The structure also seemed to be aligned facing a north-northeasterly direction, which, as we have seen before, allows for the celestial alignment of the sun rising on the June solstice. But this wasn't an isolated structure. Slightly to the west, there was other construction that, in my experience, also had to be the remnants of ancient architecture. So, I was going to have to check it out.
So I'm lost. I got turned around on some back roads here, and I'm lost. I lost the main road, so there are some farmers working in their fields, and I think I'm going to approach them and ask them for help. So let's see how that goes. Señor, discúlpame. Ese no es la carretera primero, ¿no? La calle. No es.
¿A dónde vas?
Estoy buscando las ruinas que están aquí.
A la vuelta, pues.
Sí, están ahí. ¿Cómo seguir?
De frente, más, pues. Te vas toda la orilla, a esa planta grande, entra por ahí y no está el colegio.
¿Y con el carro o no?
No, el carro vas a dejar afuera, ya, al frente.
Y
a la derecha. Sales a la derecha.
A la derecha, ya.
Ya todo viene toda la orilla así, por abajo. Y carteza para arriba, pues.
Y se parque el carro y caminar.
Claro.
Muchas gracias, ¿ya?
Ya.
Gracias. Well, that's a positive sign they knew of the ruins, which is great. Not so positive sign is I knew I had to go to the right, but I'm going to turn around and see how it goes. All right, I'm here in this valley because I believe that there is a temple back that way because of the sunken circular plaza I saw on Google Earth. And so I am going to climb up there and see what we see.
I was approaching the structure from this direction here, and from the drone shot, you can see the faint outline of the sunken circular plaza.
Holy hell, it is. This is a ruin. This is a ruin. Holy hell. This is it. This is this is the ruin I saw. You can see the indentations here in the top where things have been dug out.
Looting pits are, of course, unfortunate, but are also typically a decent indicator of surrounding ancient construction.
This is it. Wow. Oh, this is, look, this is what's buried underneath. Holy hell, look at this pottery.
It seems likely that this ancient pottery vessel came from this exposed, looted pit.
Dug into this.
Probably carelessly destroyed attempting to extract whatever was in it. But within that pit was clear evidence of stacked stones forming walls and chambers.
We definitely dug into this. But look what's underneath. Look at the stone that's buried underneath all of this.
And the stonework seemed pretty consistent to me of the architecture that we have found at previous locations, those belonging to the Norte Chico and Sechín cultures.
I'm right on top of it. That's incredible. I didn't even notice. This is it. This is the, and I knew it. That was the sunken circular plaza over there.
It's a bit more difficult to make out the plaza being here on top of the structure, but from the drone, it was undeniably clear. This site was almost certainly the victim of some sort of major environmental impact or cataclysmic event, simply based on the sheer scale of the present destruction. And all these stones, at one point they were undoubtedly joined to form rooms and chambers in the same uniform way that we can see at sites like Era de Pando. The structures I had seen to the west were a bit peculiar to me because although it could have been potentially residential structures, it reminded me more of terracing. And so far, all of the sites we have investigated came long before the invention of this type of layered terracing.
All right, so after confirming by the drone what I saw on Google Earth, I am headed to that location, and it was super strange. It looked like there was a cactus, a cactus growing in the middle of it, like just one lonely, isolated cactus. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was the San Pedro cactus, given the psychedelic properties and, you know, ancient shamanism. If the cactus was revered in some way. It's pretty strange. So let's just go there and take a look. Looks like there's a little path here. Little pieces of pottery everywhere. The lip of a piece of pottery. So this is definitely a ceramic culture.
It's very possible and likely probable that there were several occupation periods here in this valley. Andean civilizations frequently repurposed and reoccupied the locations of the cultures that predated them.
Much more pottery. Oh, there's a cactus there. That's weird. It looks like these cacti align. Pieces of pottery.
The fact that there were so many pieces of pottery at this particular location indicated to me that it was almost certainly occupied by a subsequent later culture. Because at that temple structure, all we saw was that one piece of giant pottery that was likely exhumed from that looted chamber.
You can definitely see the layers of whatever this structure is.
And that leads me to believe that the ceramic culture that was certainly occupying this space here probably venerated the adjacent temple and perhaps chose to bury an important cultural figure there.
There's so many pieces of pottery.
The very first ceramic cultures, of course, made pottery that was very plain and simple.
Oh, wow. Look at that. So this looks like different cultural pottery, because some of the stuff I found is very plain, but this clearly has...
The very next evolution or iteration of ceramic construction was to create pressed molds in the clay, and we were seeing evidence of both of these here.
Some pieces of wood. There's someone digging in there. Definitely digging in here.
Next to several of the looted pits at this particular location, there were bone fragments. Although the two cacti I had seen did indeed seem to create a straight line or path, cacti do not survive for thousands of years, so it's implausible to assert that this was somehow intentional when the construction was built.
So this place clearly hasn't been excavated yet. Look what's inside.
I had become convinced that this was likely terracing until beginning to leave the site, when I came across several locations with clear indications of structures going much further into the ground. This lost temple may be the missing piece that confirms a link between the great civilizations of the Casma and Supe valleys. The construction methods seeming to be shared between the Sechín and Norte Chico cultures, having now been identified in the valleys in between them, insists that these cultures were much more interconnected than previously believed, and that the cradle of civilization in Peru is much more vast than has ever been acknowledged. But it also raises a deeper question. If this tradition didn't start in one place and spread to another, where did the idea itself come from? To find that answer, we must journey beyond the first cities, beyond even their first connections. We must travel to the very dawn of settled life itself, to a single, humble mound on the coast that may hold the secret to a genesis that began here over 15,000 years ago. Here, over 400 kilometers from the sacred cities we've been exploring, may lie the key to it all. At first glance, it appears as nothing more than a dark hill against the Pacific shore, and for decades, it was known as an early settlement for fishermen. But recent in-depth investigations have revealed a timeline that shatters our perception of the ancient world. This is not just an early settlement. It is a place where human activity began on this coast at the end of the last ice age.
So this is what I'm greeted with at the site of Huaca Prieta. Huaca Prieta was, it continues to challenge the historical record. You can see phase 1 here, 12,550 BCE. There were several phases to its construction here, and it was until 2013 when Tom Dillahay and his archaeological team found, when they excavated the back part of the site, found organic materials dating to pre-Younger Dryas.
Excavations at the base of the mound have unearthed simple tools and the remains of marine life from the first human presence here on the coast. And those radiocarbon dates go back 15,000 years. But then, around 7,500 to 8,000 years ago, a fundamental shift occurred. The people of Huaca Prieta began to build. They began the slow, deliberate process of constructing the mound itself, built up over thousands of years with layers of cobblestone, soil, and ash. It is one of the first great communal projects of the Americas, and it's a testament to a society growing in complexity. And deep within the layers of this ancient mound, archaeologists found the definitive clue. It was not from the earliest phases, but was added later, during a major period of construction, a sunken circular plaza. This discovery is a revelation. The sacred blueprint, the architectural DNA that we have been tracing from the Casma to the Supe valleys. It did not just appear 6,000 years ago at those respective sites. Its roots began here, in this ancient, humble, enigmatic site. Huaca Prieta just might be the origin point. The source code that defined a tradition that would be followed for thousands of years. This unimposing mound may be the genesis of a tradition that would shape and define the first civilizations of the Americas. Our journey started with a question. Were the great cultures of the Casma and Supe valleys really a world apart? We followed the fingerprints of the sunken circular plazas and the U-shaped forms that their structures made. The evidence is undeniable. And the timelines? Well, those might need some updating. The true cradle of civilization was not isolated to a particular region. It was a vast, interconnected network of ideas and people thousands of years older than we imagined. And that is a story that rewrites the history of the Americas. But before our journey ends, the coastal desert here has one last secret to share. A mystery not buried deep within a mound, but hidden in plain sight. Our investigation returns one last time to the Supe Valley, where a lonely face, etched into the earth and likely unseen for millennia, proves that the oldest secrets are still out there waiting to be found. Geoglyphs can be found all along the coast of Peru, the most famous of which, of course, are the Nazca lines, giant etchings carved into the earth, appearing made to be seen from the heavens. Well, as I was surveying Google Earth, I came across something that continues to baffle me to this day. A giant face peering into the sky. A geoglyph in the heart of the valleys belonging to the Norte Chico culture. But there was actually more than just a face. There were spirals and other shapes, and there was no documentation on the record that I could find that spoke to these. So, I was going to have to go see them for myself.
So I've got a little bit of daylight left. A little bit. Sun is clearly starting to set. And I'm looking for that face. That geoglyph of a face that I believe I found. So, let's see.
From the drone, you can see this patch of agriculture that I was navigating through.
It looks like limes. Is that limes? That was a weird sound. What is that? Oh, there it went. There it went. Alright, this is the next thing I need to endure, it seems. It says I should be right on it. Almost. Am I standing in the middle of it? Looks like the eyes right there. Looks like the eyes right there. No way.
I was absolutely wrong. This was not the eyes or the face, as I would soon see the true scale of this artwork etched into the earth.
Those are spirals. Those are definite spirals.
You can see me here for a sense of scale.
Oh my gosh, there it is. I knew it. I knew it.
I wasn't quite sure what to make of the other geoglyphs on these mountain plateaus, but it was quite clear that erosion has certainly taken a toll over the past several thousand years. There is one geoglyph on record attributed to the Norte Chico culture, a profile side view of a face, and it's right around the sacred city of Caral. So if these were indeed attributed to the Norte Chico culture, and I see no reason for them not to be, as we are literally in the heart of their territory, That would mean these geoglyphs are thousands of years older than the most famous lines at Nazca. A face etched into the earth. A final question left by a piece of this first great civilization. It's a humbling reminder that for every site that we've explored, 1,000 more lie waiting, and their stories remaining to be told. The history of this land is not a closed book. The mission is to keep turning the pages, culture by culture, site by site, artifact by artifact. And this is a mission, the results of which Pillars of the Past is committed to bringing to all of you. Thank you so much for being a part of this investigation, and I hope that in time it locks in a piece of the ever-evolving puzzle of our ancient past. The Pillars of the Past mission to document, investigate, and help preserve these ancient sites takes a village. And if you find value in that, please consider contributing to support the next Pillars of the Past expedition. There will be a link in the description below. Please leave any thoughts or questions in the comment section below so we can continue this discussion. And please put a like on this video and share it with anyone who you think might find it interesting. This was truly my most ambitious project. So thank you so much for watching it and being a part of the investigation. And I will catch you on the next one.